Hello everyone and welcome to our webinar, which is all about getting seen on social and how to cut through the noise on these platforms. My name's Gareth. I am the training consultant here at Isentia Social, and I'm going to take you through this content and have a great chat to you about these platforms and how to get your message seen by your audience. So what I'm going to cover today is, first off, content, and without scaring you too much, it really does begin and end with content, the content that we put up and the audience it's for. Then we're going to jump into best times to post, and we're going to look at a little bit of data on that, but also what's going to work best for you. Finally, we're going to jump into promotion. If you've got a really killer piece of content, is promoting it something you should be doing on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter. So let's jump straight into it. And first off, I really want to chat about why we're here, why it is that we sometimes struggle to get a message across on these different platforms. So first thing is Facebook organic reach is at less than 6%. So what that effectively means is if you have 100 people following you and you put up a post, it's going to be seen by less than 6%. For some of the larger pages, for some of the pages with a whole lot of people liking and following them, that's less than 2%. So obviously that's a big struggle for us as organizations when we're putting content out. It's not even being seen by the people who are following us as an organization or a brand. When it comes to Twitter, there's over 500 million tweets sent every day. And obviously Twitter is a chronological social media. So that means that when people come in, they see the most recent tweets, not the most important ones to them. So with those 500 million floating around, they may see something about someone going to sleep or a picture of what they've eaten as opposed to your important press release or product launch. So obviously there's an awful lot of noise on that platform as well. When it comes to LinkedIn, there's over 380 million users, and this is still growing. In Australia, we've got about 7.5 million users. For our buddies over in New Zealand, it's about 1.3. So there's a lot of people on this platform. It's still growing in both of our regions as well. And about 4 million company pages on the platform. So you can imagine when people jump into their LinkedIn, looking through their feed there, they've got increasing amount of updates and contents coming from individuals, whether they've updated their experience or even their profile image, right through to posts and blogs from other organizations they're following. So there's a lot of content, a lot of noise on that platform as well. So let's get into how to get seen. So the first one, as I mentioned, is talking about content. So this is the content that we're putting up, the messages that we're putting out to our audience. And like I mentioned, this is the important part. This is where it begins and ends to a very, very large degree. So Jason Miller from LinkedIn, his phrase is keep your content tight and your messaging right. And so what that's about is obviously making sure your content is applicable to your audience. It's the right content for you and it's stuff they actually want to consume. And the messaging that comes around it, make sure you're telling people the validity of your content. Okay, not just simply posting it out there, but engaging with people as to why they should be taking awareness of your PR statement, or reading your infographic, or watching your video, making sure that content's great to start off with, but you're messaging in the correct way as well. Here at Isentia Social, this is one of our favorite phrases, and that's create content that users want to consume, engage with, and share. Sounds simple, right? Most definitely, Gareth. Well, it might sound simple, and it is simple in theory. Obviously, actually acting on that is really challenging, but let's break that down into its three parts. So first off, create content that users want to consume. And so that's really important. Think about what your audience, how they actually want to consume that content. Making sure it's lively for them. Not just putting out a message that's all about you, making sure it is a piece of content they actually want to read, want to look at, and are going to as well. So thinking about perhaps the different vehicles of content, whether it's an infographic, image, etc. Next step, content that users want to engage with. So obviously for them to engage with it, for some way or another, it resonates with them. It's really important to them, and it creates them to react, whether that's liking it or commenting on it. So that may be by creating some discussion, using a question, or talking about something that's very topical. In some way, shape, or form, you want them to engage with it, because that's going to increase the possibility of it being, seen on social. But not only that, but it means you're going the right way when it comes to your content. And finally, you want to create content that your users want to share. Now, this really is the holy grail. This is when you put out a post and your audience goes, that is so cool, that is so kick-ass, that I want to retweet it or I want to share it to my audience. And that's where you get a real great viral reach, because it's now going out to their audience as well, which maybe people very similar to them, so it's really beneficial to you. Now, that's a really challenging thing, though, because obviously to create content that users want to share, you have to know exactly what they're after, and it's got to be a reflection of what they're really interested in as well. So therein lies one of the biggest challenges when creating content for social media. So let's talk about the average reach for different post types. Okay, so this is relevant to Facebook here. This data. So we've got here photos, status, links, and videos. So I'm sure we've used at least one or two or a mix of all four in our current comms strategy. So let's start with statuses. So just your simple text status, whether it's and so that can get lost fairly easy. So the reach isn't going to be as great. You know, you're only saying a little bit with a couple of words, right? A link, it still doesn't do too bad. So if you're linking to an offsite piece of content, maybe it's your blog, whatever the case is, it still gets a bit more reach than the status, about double the reach of a simple status, but nowhere near the amount of a photo or a video, the visual aspects. The one thing I'd say, though, if you are posting a link, when you post it, it will come up with an image preview. Now, that's pulling that from the metadata or the information that comes from that URL. And quite often there will be more than one possible image to preview, and you'll see this when you post it. There's a different previewed image. So I'd click through those and make sure that you're actually selecting the one that A, is most relevant to the link that you're sharing, and B, also resonates best with your audience. Like I said, you want to get visual on these platforms. You want to get some great content that people are going to be struck by very quickly. So make sure that the image, even if you're just posting a simple link, make sure the image preview is the most appropriate to your audience and your message. Obviously, photos outdo both of them. So as long as a photo is good, now that's the most important thing. Like I said, bad content is bad content. So make sure that your image is, with your photo, whether it's an infographic or just a standard image, is really vibrant and speaks to what you're trying to talk about, and also your audience wants to consume it. Finally, video. Video is the best vehicle at the moment. It does the best when it comes to reach on Facebook. As you can see, it's nearly double the reach of a photo. You can say so much with a video, and the different social media platforms are really leaning towards video as the king of all content. So if it's not part of your content strategy at the moment, think about how it possibly could be. These don't have to be $10 million Spielberg pieces of video content. They just have to have the right messaging and appropriate for your audience. Still on video for a moment, let's talk about video on Facebook, because for a long period of time, pretty much all of us, when we've got a cool piece of video content that we want to share to our different social networks, we've housed it on YouTube or Vimeo or one of the other video sites, and then we've just copied and pasted that link across to Facebook or Twitter or whatever the case may be. Now, earlier this year, Facebook said, no, enough's enough. We are going to give better reach, better organic reach to videos that are natively uploaded to Facebook. And so what that means is if you share a link across versus someone who actually uploads that file to Facebook, the natively uploaded one, gets more eyeballs seen on it. So this is some data from a study done by Search Engine Journal, and they took around 42 videos and they broke it down. They looked at the average reach, comments, shares, and likes. So if you look down at that low row down there, people reached. As you can see, natively uploaded videos reached on average about more than twice as much as the third-party links shared across. So it's important that if you do have your content housed on YouTube or one of the other different platforms, that you do take that little bit of extra time to natively upload it to Facebook as well, because it will get out to a larger audience. Facebook came out earlier this year and quite overt, and they said that we no longer consider ourselves a social media platform, we consider ourselves a video platform. So that gives you an idea about where they're heading. So make sure you, as much as possible, play by the rules of the platform. So take that a little extra time to upload that content natively to Facebook, and you'll see better reach results from your content. As you can see from these stats here as well, obviously the likes, comments, and shares were all obviously higher because it's being seen by a larger audience. So it's a little bit of a statistical work on what content does best. The important thing to do is always go back and analyze what you've posted, the content that you've posted and created. So go back into your analytics on the different platforms and have a look to see which piece of content reached more people, which one was engaged at a higher rate. because realistically, I can guarantee you your audience is unique and your message is unique. So you've got to make sure that you find out what worked for your audience. So go back, check out the stats that are relevant to you, and then tweak your content strategy accordingly. So that's the content side of things. So let's look at when to post. Now, this is always a tough question I get quite regularly, but let's first off have a look at some of the data side of things, and then talk about how to make sure it's matched for your audience specifically. We'll go through this platform by platform. So let's start with Twitter. So the best days to tweet. Now, we've broken this up from B2B to B2C. Okay, so B2B, thinking that you're trying to get your content, you're tweeting out to similar organizations, perhaps it's journalists, whatever the case may be, and no surprises there. It's Monday to Friday. You're playing within the realms of the working week. When it comes to B2C, so you've got a wider audience. Maybe you're talking to your end consumers or just the standard individuals within Australia and New Zealand. And what we've found is, once again, not too many surprises that Saturday and Sunday come up trumps, being the 2 days that people will be, in inverted commas, most social. And Wednesday was the bolter there as well. So these were the days that were best to tweet. Let's get down a little bit more granular and let's think about the best times to tweet here on the right. Now, we've got 12 p.m. and 6 p.m. as the highest CTR, which is click-through rate. So that's if you've, as part of your tweet, you've got a link. So you're trying to send someone off-site, whether it's to your blogs, whether it's to your website, a form, or whatever the case may be, an external article. And so you're going to get the highest click-through rate at midday and 6 p.m. Now, I'd say the rationale behind that is midday, you've got people in their lunch breaks, they're probably more inclined to actually do something with your message. So it's not just thinking about the best times to post on these social channels, but also thinking about when will be the best for them actually to do something with your message. Conversely, instead of click-through rates, 5 p.m. we found is the highest time for retweets. 5 p.m., people are commuting. So they're probably more likely to be sitting on a train, sitting on a bus, sitting on a tram, if you're in Melbourne, and retweeting that message out. So obviously that's a cool thing if you're trying to get that viral reach and getting your message seen by more people. Think about LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, obviously, it is a professional network. So similar to Twitter, Tuesdays to Thursdays are the best times to post. Professional. So you want to get people within working hours during the working week. Now, that being said, I will put a little bit of a caveat on it because I guess with the weekends, watch this space because LinkedIn's becoming a lot more of a content platform. For those of you who know, they've recently allowed you to post video in YouTube. So not just on your profile as rich media, but you can actually post it in stream as an update. And so people can consume video content in this platform now as well. So there's a lot more content on the platform right through to the Pulse blogs, etc. So I guess watch this space and trial and error when it comes to seeing whether or not there's much change in engagements on Saturdays and Sundays on those weekends. Also bear in mind that LinkedIn's really increasing the amount of mobile usage that's happened. So people are using LinkedIn on their mobile devices a lot more than they ever have. It's about 50% cut through. Now that's nowhere near the 80 and 85% that you see on Twitter and Facebook respectively, but it does show that the usage and the consumption on LinkedIn is very much changing. When it comes to the best times to post, so this studied 14 million users, and they drilled down. They found the best time for clicks and shares were Tuesday between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. So that was a sweet spot for them. So there's a little bit of data as to when may be the best time to post on LinkedIn. So Tuesdays to Thursdays, and if you really want to drill down to the most optimum time by a little bit of research was Tuesday to 10 and 11 a.m. Now the other thing to be wary of as well is there's really a decent amount of viral reach on LinkedIn. And what I mean by this is if you were to log into your LinkedIn right now, you'd probably see posts, whether they're blog articles or links that people have shared that some of your connections have liked. So that's popping up in there just simply because one of your connections has liked it. So if you are putting out updates from a company point of view, you're posting articles, etc., make sure that your employees are getting engaged with those on LinkedIn, because the more they like and they comment on those posts, the more it will go out to their connections and have this fantastic viral reach and will proliferate your message through LinkedIn. So take advantage not just of your followers on LinkedIn, but your employees' connections as well. So what about Facebook, the big daddy of all the social medias? So some of us would have heard that last Monday, 1 billion people logged into Facebook on that single day. So congrats to Facebook, growing at a rate of knots still. So the best times to outreach on Facebook, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and similar to the best time for click-through rates on Twitter, midday and 6 p.m. So once again, you think about times where people are outside the standard working hours. Obviously, lunchtime is the caveat there. Now, the data that we pulled from our audience, from our clients, we found that Tuesday, so replicated, Tuesday was the best day for all audience reach, and that was an average across our clients. As you can see there, the weekends and Friday, we saw a bit of a dip. I'd probably say what that is to do with is the fact that on those times, there's a lot more people social sharing. So there's a lot more photos going up of people's weekends. And so you're going to have to compete with that. So if you're posting your messages and you're on the weekends, you're competing not just with similar organizations, but also with everyone else putting up photos of their food from the weekend. Now, similar to what I said when it comes to analyzing your content, also analyze your audience. Now, this is a snapshot. We'd all have this readout if we went into our Facebook analytics, and it tells us when our fans are online, both on a daily basis, but also time basis. Now, the one thing I'd say is that I can imagine that most of our snapshots like this look very, very similar. Our audience will build during the day and then drop off. Peak at about that 7 to 9 o'clock mark, and then drop off fairly substantially after that. That being said, it's important to, similar to what we're talking about with your content, go back in and work out which times have been best for you. Think about your audience and also what you're asking them to do. If you're asking people, if you're posting very, very early in the morning and you're asking people to fill in a web form or something similar like that, chances are they're maybe rushing to get the kids to school, so they're not going to do anything with your message. So think about not just the content you're putting up, but what time of the day it is and how your audience is most likely going to be able to interact with that message. Which brings us to the eternal struggle, to schedule or not to schedule. That is the question. Obviously, I'm a massive Shakespeare buff here. So to answer that, I'll give you examples from our team. So we have our always-on guys who are client-facing community managers, and they do not schedule. They don't schedule, and the main reason for that is you have no idea what can go wrong. Whether it's breaking news in your industry, whether it's some reactions to your organization or a thought leader within your company, you never know what can happen. And when you schedule posts, it takes away your agility on these social media platforms. So what I want to do to give examples of that, I want to really highlight that. I want to give you two examples of, I guess we call them schedule fails. So starting with the tweet here on the left, which came out from the NRA. So as you can see, they've got a scheduled tweet that's gone, "Good morning, shooters, happy Friday, weekend plans, question mark." So this probably would have been a scheduled tweet just to drive a little bit of an engagement on Friday, just to get people chatting with the NRA. Unfortunately, that was sent out the morning of the Aurora shootings. So as you can imagine, the PR team from the NRA probably came into a whirlwind of messages and were probably reacting to that and completely forgot that they had this tweet scheduled to go out. And as you can see from the time it was screenshotted, there were 216 retweets. I could very much doubt that any of those were positive. And because they were spending so much time dealing with all the conversations that were had around their organization that morning, completely forgot they had this scheduled tweet there and have put out what's really a very insensitive message. On the right there, there's, I guess, unfortunately, a bit of a similarly macabre example of a schedule fail. And it's of the late Joan Rivers. And she put up a plug on Instagram of the iPhone 6, just talking about how much she was excited about and how excited she was to crack that bad boy out, which was obviously shared across to Facebook as well. The challenge was that this scheduled post went out 2 weeks after Joan Rivers had passed away. As you can imagine, that's a very odd scheduled post to have. And so these are two very poignant, very macabre examples of why not to schedule. What you want to do as much as possible on social media is stay agile, so you can react and respond to different conversations that are being had in and around your organization. Now, I know a lot of us, in our comms team and our marketing teams are time poor, and if you are going to schedule posts, you do need to think of the risks. We discourage the scheduling, but if you are going to do it, think of the risks. Think of what could go wrong with this post. employ Murphy's Law, because that's the best law when it comes to social media. So now we've talked a little bit about when to post. Let's talk about promoting. So obviously promoting, throwing a little bit of cash to get our message out to a wider audience and to try to beat that reducing organic reach on Facebook, but also to beat that chronological aspect of Twitter, make sure our message is seen by the right people at the right time. So here are some examples of what we refer to as native advertising. So this is sponsored content on social media. As you can see, it just looks like another tweet, another company update, or another post, but these are paid for. And like I mentioned, they're going to try to beat that chronological aspect of Twitter or that lowering reach on Facebook. So native advertising, it's in-stream. It looks like a normal post, and it's a very effective way for comms. On the left there, you can see a Twitter card, which is all about driving installation of an app there. In the middle, we've got an example of sponsored content. So sponsoring content on LinkedIn to make sure it gets to more eyeballs. And on the right, there is a dark post on Facebook. As you can see, like I mentioned, they all just look like standard posts. So why do we look towards native advertising or sponsored content? Well, consumers look at native ads 52% more frequently than banner ads, and that's obviously definitely on the rise considering how much more sponsored content there is these days. But not only that, $100 spend on Facebook can get you approximately 20K reach. Now, it does depend on the audience you're after, but that's a decent amount of eyeballs for a fairly humble amount of cash. So if you do have a cool piece of content, if you do have a great message, push it out. And on the right there, we're talking about how awesome it is when people share our content. Well, people are much more likely to share native ads than banner ads, obviously. Native ads look a lot more like a genuine piece of content. That being said, I will come back down to it. Bad content is bad content. And, people are going to tune your message out and not look at it, and they're definitely not going to share it if it's bad content. So you can promote the most shocking image or the most useless video, and it probably won't do as well. So making sure you've got your content correct from the get-go. So finally, overall, what are the 3 reasons to promote? Well, obviously a larger audience. So it's not just going out to your followers. It's not just going out to your the people who've liked your page. You're sending it out to a larger audience beyond them. It's also targeted. You can target the people who are going to see your message based on demographic, geographic, as well as behaviors, etc. So you're going to be able to target the people who are going to be more likely to do something with your message or with your content. And also you can control the budget. So that's one of the great things about social promotion is that, you can start with as little as $5 or $10 on a lot of these platforms. So you don't have to worry about blowing out your media budget and all of a sudden coming in on Monday, your boss is waving a $20,000 bill from Facebook or LinkedIn. You can very much control it. So it's a really great way to dip the toe in, try it out, and see if you can get the right reactions out of your content. So guys, that does bring us to the end of our webinar talking about getting seen on social. Now, what I will do though, I will cover off a couple of questions that came through to us when we were doing the webinar live, just to give you guys a couple of the answers that you may be asking right now. So the first one was, why was video so popular? I guess there's 2 parts to that. For starters, the platforms themselves, big fans of it, they love it, they love sending it out, but also audiences love consuming it. Obviously, thanks to cheaper data rates as well as better data speeds, people are more inclined to watch video. And also you as comms professionals or marketers can say a lot more in video than you can in a text update or in an image. Next question was, what are your thoughts about posting across all channels? Now, I'm going to assume this is asking whether or not you post a piece of content out or a message across all platforms using a tool, doing it at one stage. The one thing I'd say is you want to make sure you message your content specifically for each platform. Now, you're going to have invariably different audiences on different platforms, and obviously on LinkedIn, it's much more professional. Twitter, you want to use hashtags, and so you want to make sure you're adjusting your message for your content on each one. So take the extra couple minutes to post it out on the separate platforms. The next question was, if we can't schedule, how do we post after hours and on weekends? It's a tough one to answer to you because like I mentioned, for our always on guys, our client-facing community managers, they don't schedule, but they do post on the weekends. So that is one of the challenges that we all face with modern times. A lot of us check our emails on the weekend and respond to some of them. So for social, if you do feel that you want to get your message across on the weekends, then yes, you can schedule. However, we discourage it. We'd say, jump on there, shoot it out. Next question was, why is video so important? And as part of that, what makes a great video? So obviously, video is important because the platforms themselves, like I said, Facebook is pushing video. It's making sure it gets seen by more people as opposed to your standard links and images. So it's important from that point of view. What makes a great video? Well, from the work that we've done, we've found that for starters, make sure you captivate people in the first 3 seconds. If you got LeBron James in your video, make sure you throw him in that first 3 seconds, because as people scroll through, as that autoplay on Facebook begins to tick over, you want to make sure you captivate people very quickly. People are very fickle. People are very, very fickle on social, so you want to make sure that you're giving them that reason to continue watching. How do you use hashtags when getting your message across? And as part of that, another question that came through, that do you hashtag your own company? So listen, to be honest, we use a hashtag Isentia courses, which is great for getting questions through on and these webinars, as well as on events, and sharing content that's in and around our Isentia events. However, the one thing, if you're just using a hashtag of your organization's name or your brand, who is following that message? Who is sitting there waiting, sitting on that hashtag and looking at the content? What you want to do, the best way to use hashtags is find relevant hashtags for your organization or the discussions in and around your industry. As an example, hashtag Ozpol is great for Australian politics. So anyone who's throwing their 2 cents in about the current Australian politics situation, as well as hashtag AusBiz is great for Australian businesses. Yet look at different people, different organizations in your industry, see what hashtags they're using, and see if they are discussions that are relevant to what you're talking about. Don't hash spam, so don't throw a bunch of them together, and try to make them relevant, try to make them specific to what you want to say. Another question came through is, do hashtags work? And I'd say most definitely, because obviously it's going to mean that your content is seen by people other than just your followers. Like I just said, make sure it's a hashtag that's relevant to your content, relevant to your industry. Twitter, I think, said that on average, I think it's 43% more impressions that you get by using a hashtag. And I'd say that if you use the right hashtag, it's going to be a lot more incremental than that. It really comes back to what you're trying to get out of pushing your message across. So guys, thanks for your time. Hope you took a lot away from this webinar. We certainly had a lot of fun bringing it to you. Stay tuned for our next one as well, and all the best in the meantime. Take care, guys.